The great period that Cristiano Ronaldo is currently experiencing, with his great start to the season with Manchester United, scoring 3 goals in his first 2 games and scoring the 2 goals that gave the Portugal national team the victory over the Republic of Ireland, which also served to break the record of Ali Daei as the top international scorer in the history of football, is, surprisingly enough, par for the course and raises the possibility of considering the Portuguese as one of the best or even the best striker of all time, considering that he is doing this at an old age for a football player, 36 years old. Cristiano Ronaldo has had an evolution throughout his career, where he has gone from being a very skilled winger that could play on both sides of the pitch, with a greater focus on crosses, to a much more classic striker whose main objective is to score goals. This evolution has allowed him to combine different resources to become a lethal weapon in front of goal. Hence why we can make a comparison of the main skills of a striker between the Portuguese star with other legendary strikers that allow Cristiano to be placed in a historical ranking. In the list, we're only going to consider the most classic strikers. That is, we leave out some football players such as Alfredo Di Stefano, Lionel Messi or Diego Maradona, whose playing styles are mostly outside the box, and their characteristics make them creators and players more prone to assist, so they are not properly strikers. Heading. Heading is a very interesting department to analyse because it doesn't only require proper jumping and good finishing with the head, but also an element that is intrinsic to a striker's success and a factor he or she can't live without. Movement. Movement is the key element for a traditional striker to make a difference and be able to be at the right place at the right time, which is also worth taking into account when making these types of analysis. And even though strikers that are great at headers are becoming rarer and rarer by the day, with a lot more emphasis on other aspects of play, the reality is that this is an aspect that Cristiano Ronaldo really thrives at, and it's one of those fundamental aspects of his qualities as a world-class striker. When it comes to the heading department, this is where the evolution of Cristiano throughout the years becomes a lot more notorious, and that is something that highlights that he is a good choice for the best striker of all time. The fact that he went from a winger that had 0 heading qualities to one of the best players of all time when it comes to that ability is nothing short of remarkable, and one of the many examples that showcase his work ethic and his natural talent for learning and development. You have to add the physical qualities of Cristiano. At 1.87 meters, he is a naturally tall man, which of course helps when it comes to heading, but he has also worked his body to its absolute peak, allowing him to have great jumping qualities and the physical strength to overpower the opposition when they are marking him. Add to that his speed off the ball, and you have a deadly threat when it comes to headers. If we compare that to the likes of Gerd Muller, Pele, Marco van Basten or the Brazilian Ronaldo, this is an aspect where Ronaldo certainly thrives at. Finishing. This is the hardest element to analyse when compared to some of the strikers we have mentioned before, mostly due to the fact that there were not a lot of stats when those players were in their prime, so contrasting Cristiano's percentage of effectiveness as a striker to them is a lot more difficult. However, one thing that can't be denied about the Portuguese is that he has managed to find the back of the net in many different ways. He might not score a lot of wonder goals these days, but he can read the game well to find pockets of space, and he is capable of scoring with both feet, his head, as we mentioned before, and has a lot of different techniques in that regard. Whether they are well-placed shots in one of the corners, a first-time shot, an ugly finish that gets the job done, phenomenal goals in terms of execution or simple aesthetics, or anything in between, Cristiano has done it all. Dribbling. Traditional strikers don't usually thrive at dribbling, and this is something that both Ronaldos have on the rest of the competition, but our protagonist might be a bit debatable when it comes to this particular striker. Yes, Cristiano started out as a tricky winger, and there was a period of his career during his later years in his first Manchester United years and his early years at Real Madrid, where he found a great balance between dribbling as a winger and goal-scoring exploits. But the reality is that he became more of a goal scorer the more dribbling skills he sacrificed. The Brazilian Ronaldo was probably the finest when it came to combining dribbling with goal-scoring exploits, as far as traditional strikers go, so he could very well have the edge in this regard, as the best Cristiano as a striker wasn't the best at dribbling. To claim that a player is the best of all time at something can be a very difficult and often unfair situation, but there is a very good argument about Cristiano Ronaldo being the finest striker of all time, as he has mastered every aspect of being a goal scorer and has maintained a level of consistency and production in that regard for so many years that it is simply ridiculous. When it comes to being a striker, you simply can't do much better than Cristiano.